Welcome to the Female Finance Collective podcast, where we encourage women to have open and honest conversations about all things money.
I'm Jen, and I struggled for many years with debt and feeling financially overwhelmed, so I know how frustrating it can be. Now I'm passionate about helping women confidently take control of their personal finances.
And I'm Meri-Li. As a financial planner, I've had the privilege of working with hundreds of women who've transformed their financial lives. I'm excited to share my insights to help you on your financial journey.
Hey, I'm Sybil. I built my dream life traveling the world and creating financial freedom on a teacher's salary. Now I help women take charge of their money and burn brighter in life.
Let's start the money conversation. Welcome back to Female Finance Collective podcast. We are going to continue talking about debt today. I know we talk about it in our community, and I've shared a lot about it in our social media posts and those short videos, but we really know that debt is impacting a lot of people right now. It's just, I think it's consumer debt is just become kind of part of the norm, but that doesn't mean that everybody's comfortable living with that, right? It's still stressful. It can still be overwhelming. It can still feel like a hole that you can't dig out of. And we want to help you with that, right? We want to provide some tips and information and just kind of some thinking about debt, the benefits of paying it off, why that matters, and how it can really help you. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I think that for me, when I had my debt, I've been really open and honest about my kind of debt journey, if you will. It sounds over dramatic that way, but that's basically what it was, right? It was like this 15-year thing that
Big deal.
my relationship with debt. But there were never a time where I wasn't thinking about it. Every time I bought something, I was like, should I really pay for this? Should I not do this? Like it became really, really overwhelming to me and something that kind of consumed my thoughts, the way I lived, like how I shopped, how I ate. Like it was really, really overwhelming for me. It was stressful if people invited me out to dinner because I was like, I can't really afford that restaurant, but those are my really good friends and I want to go. Like it was impacting kind of every aspect of my life. And so I don't want other people to feel that way. If they're already there, we want to help you kind of get away from that. And if you're kind of creeping down that debt path, thinking like this isn't going to be that big of a deal, I'll figure it out. Like we want to kind of caution you on that because it is a bigger deal than I think you even realize kind of on the surface. So today we're going to talk about the benefits of paying it off, or I mean, us avoiding it altogether, right?
Yeah.
So let's kind of start with like the base, like the financial benefits, right? Like that's the big one that you think about first. What do you guys think are the financial benefits of working to pay off your debt?
So the first one that comes to mind for me is you're saving on those interest costs. And I do find sometimes people have a hard time even thinking about that piece, but taking a couple minutes and looking at what your payments are and what portion of that is going towards interest, it can be really empowering to know that information, and it can help to motivate to get that debt paid off faster. So if you realize, $100 or $200 is going towards interest alone, that can be helpful when it comes to making some of those day-to-day decisions and making trade-offs with where your money goes. Because the faster you can pay that debt off, the less interest you're paying. And then once debt is paid, so every time you pay off a credit card or pay off a loan, that's going to free up some monthly cash flow that can be directed to something else. And that could be debt payment, or it could be, having the ability to get something for your kids, like maybe put them into a program or devote to longer term savings. So freeing up monthly cash flow is a great stage to get to because then you have some other options that open up with your finances.
Yeah, because the reality is when we pay for things on credit card and we pay just the monthly payment or not our full balance, is we're actually paying more for every single little thing we bought that month prior. But unless we look at those numbers and think about how much we're paying in interest, our brain doesn't even process that. We feel like we paid $12 for that pair of flip-flops, right? But really, if you don't pay it off and you put it on that credit card that has a 28, 29, 30% interest rate, you're paying a lot more than $12 for the flip-flops, But your brain will never like process that unless you look and see, oh my gosh, the interest payment is this. If I only pay the minimum, I'm actually paying more and more for those flip-flops every single month, right? And so really thinking about how much you can save by paying as much off as you can and getting with a goal to like paying off, spending only what you can pay off, right? It will save you so much money on those interest payments because 28, 29, 30% that credit cards have these days, that is a lot of money when you add that on, a lot of money.
That's right. And you'll just be in, like you said, Sybil, if you're only paying the minimum payment because that's all you can afford, or it feels like, oh, well, I'm paying the payment, right? Like I'm paying the bill like I'm supposed to. I think a lot of people don't even realize that the way that it's set up is you almost, I mean, this is a little bit of an exaggeration, but kind of not. Like you almost will never get it paid off. Right? If you just pay the minimum payment, you're basically just covering the interest charges from the previous month. So you're not even making any progress on the actual balance of the credit card. You're just kind of covering the interest. And that is the big piece that I think is so easy to forget and so easy to just
Yeah,
ignore. And you're like, I've got the flip flops, like you said, Sybil. I'm just going to wear those. I love them. Summer, I got my new flip flops. And you're not thinking about how long you're going to be paying for those, especially if you're just paying the minimum payment every month.
exactly.
The other thing too is that if you're maximizing your credit, your available credit, and you're using all of it up, you really are impacting your overall credit score. It becomes harder to borrow money. It becomes harder to even sometimes, like when you rent an apartment or rent a house, they'll run a credit score or credit check. And if your credit score is lower, they're less likely to rent to you. And the more of your credit that you're using, the lower your score will be. It really does impact a lot more things than just like, I think a lot of us think, oh, well, if my credit score is bad, it might be hard to buy a house or maybe buy a car, but it really can impact us in a lot of different ways. And so by paying that down and keeping your balance lower, that will also improve your credit score, which has those other positive effects. And then, which I just kind of alluded to, it will open those doors for you if you want to buy a house, if you want to buy a new car, if you want to invest money or save for a big vacation or anything like that. I think, Meri-Li, you can kind of talk about this a little bit more because you kind of mentioned this already, but it's not having those debt payments gives you more money in your pocket.
Yeah, no, for sure. And um, that's one of the big things is as you work to pay down debt, you're going to open up cash flow, and that can go towards investing and building more of a nest egg. And so, suddenly with debt behind you, you're able to feel like you're starting to think about the future. You're putting a little bit aside for your retirement goals or home ownership or whatever else is on your mind. And that can have a really big emotional benefit to just kind of feel like you're free of debt, you're not being held back, and you're starting to think ahead and plan ahead for what comes next in your life. And the emotional benefits, I think they're probably bigger than the financial benefits. So just reducing the anxiety and worry that we might have about money, and feeling much more in control of where your money goes. Those are big feelings to have. And sometimes when you feel like you're burdened with debt, you don't even want to think about it. Like you may not recognize how much stress it's bringing into your life because a lot of it can be subconscious. But you are worrying about it. You are, kind of feeling stress, feeling held back, feeling behind. Those are really common thoughts to have. And, tackling the debt can help to alleviate some of those feelings. And there's a lot of emotional benefits. Are there any other ones that you guys can think of that you see?
Yeah, I think it expands beyond us. Those things you just talked about are so real, like that anxiety, that stress, that feeling out of control, and it can affect our relationships, right? Like money fights are a thing. I'm sure all of us have had them, but the emotional Stress that, feeling guilty that you're spending too much with when it comes to your partner looking at your finances, or thinking about your kids are wanting, the next new toy or the next hot sweater or whatever it is. This is so stressful if you are charging it and going into debt to get those things. And it's just like puts so much stress on our relationships. And we know that our relationships and our social being is such an important part of our happiness. So paying off that debt and doing it with others in your life and talking about it with others in your life, even when it's hard, just relieves so much of that, emotional stress as well.
Sybil, you brought up a really cool point when you mentioned kids. They can actually be really helpful when it comes to paying off debt because when they're focused on a goal, they're really excited to help their parents, to help their family. And you're teaching them just the most important foundational personal finance lesson, which is to live within your means.
Yeah.
So it's,
Huge.
paying off debt, understanding how much you earn or the money that comes in, and then having expenses that match that. And getting them on your side, they are just much more helpful. And explaining to them that we can't buy everything. We have to make choices. We're making strategic choices. And when it comes to paying off debt, if we focus on that now, then our future finances are going to look a whole lot better. So they can be such helpful kind of friends when it comes to family finances.
It is the biggest gift ever. Seeing my daughter go off on her own to college this year and come back and say, Mom, thank you for teaching me about money. Thank you for helping me see I shouldn't buy everything, that I want and see on social media. Some of my friends do, and oh my gosh, they can't pay for this or that, So yeah, for sure.
And I think it takes some of the enjoyment out of it, right? You don't, even if you really loved that sweater and you thought about it for a week and you went back and bought it, but you still put it on credit, I don't think you enjoy wearing that sweater as much, knowing that, oh, I'm going to be paying on this forever. I shouldn't have put it on my credit card. And I'm not telling other people they should feel like they shouldn't use their cards. I'm just saying, like, that can be a personal feeling that people have. Like, I should not have done that. I have regret that I paid for it this way. And it takes away the enjoyment. I still remember sitting at a meal when I was like 22, 23. We went to this really fancy restaurant for a friend's birthday. And I was like, I'm going to order an appetizer. I can't afford to be here. I'm just going to order an appetizer. I'm going to have one drink. I managed it. And then they decided at the end of the meal, we should just split the bill because it would be easier. And they divided the bill by everyone at the table. Meanwhile, they've all had several drinks and whatever and ordered all the things. And I'm like, I just sat here with my little thing. And that like fills me with regret that I still think about that. That was a really long time ago, right? But I think this is like an illustration of the emotional impact that it can have. I still think about it. And I think about how we say we want you to have open and honest conversations about money. Would it have killed me to tell one of my really good friends, hey, I legit cannot afford that. Like, you guys can divide it your way, but I gotta only pay for mine because that's what I'm budgeted for. That's what I'm comfortable with. And so there are also ways we know that it's hard to deal with all of this. There's like so many things, right? There's the social pressure. And no, my friends weren't even pressuring me. I put that pressure on myself, right? So there's all these elements. But I think once you kind of get that financial piece under control, you think about the emotional piece, that's when you can kind of start with that shift in your lifestyle. So my shift, I wish I would have said, like, hey, I feel empowered when it comes to my own money. And I can say to people, I can't afford that, right? I would love to come to your dinner, but you got to let me pay for my own little section, right? Or empowering to say, you know what? I cannot afford that sweater. I'm going to figure something else out. Or what, there's like moves that you make that once you get this shift in your mindset, you can really shift the way you're living and you don't feel regret. You don't feel like you're missing out. You feel like, wow, I'm really confident about this. I've got a plan and I'm sticking to it and I know how to manage my money.
And I bet there were other people sitting at that table who felt the exact same
Probably.
way, but also didn't say anything, right? And so
Yep.
imagine if we normalized saying it, right?
Mhm.
Hey guys, can I just get mine? I'm really tight on money this month. Like in the moment, there's no way you could have done that. But if you could have, think about, I mean, that's not that hard to say. If
No.
you
Yeah.
find a way to say it, right?
Mhm.
And then normalize that. And who knows who else would have raised their hand and been like,
Right.
me too, let's each pay for our own. Because those people that bought tons of food and lots of drinks are probably kind of banking on the social norm of everybody going along with let's
That's
just
right.
split it, right? When we all know most restaurants, especially in the United States and probably Canada too, will take 5 credit cards or whatever. Like some countries, that might not be a possibility, but here it's like a normal thing.
Yeah. And it takes practice. Like the first few times that you say to a friend or family member, like, I can't participate in this, or I have to do this differently for this restaurant meal, it feels strange. So you almost have to practice it. Like you write out a script,
Yeah.
you practice it a few times, you deliver it with confidence. And it will feel so good after because you stuck to your boundaries, like you created a boundary, you stuck to it, and your finances will be very happy with it too.
And it's really what you value, right? And I mean, think about inside what opportunities you're building by paying off this debt to create and build wealth or whatever your financial goals are, right? Like, unless you can figure out, and like you said, Meri-Li, I think rehearsing with, somebody is a great way to do it, practicing. I was actually watching a Netflix show, Rehearsal, last night. And that's what they do is they rehearse these like hard to say situations to an extreme, but that it's so true. Like rehearsing it, saying it out loud makes it easier in the moment. And that first time might be the hardest time, and the second time is going to be a little easier, and the third time a little easier. And honestly, like at the end of the day, if there are people in that group who are like, we all just need to divide it out, I don't care, or whatever, then maybe they're not the people you want to be going out to dinner with anyway, right? And when you stick to your values, those are the kinds of things you learn about your relationships and about your decision to say yes or no to going to that event or spending that money for sure. But if we value a point of making sure our debt is paid off so we can meet our other financial goals and have a robust emergency savings, have a robust, investment for our future each month, that becomes very, very motivating, and it changes your entire lifestyle once you make some of those decisions and do those hard things.
Yep. I agree. I think that paying off your debt and like making that decision to make those changes to live that life, whether it's temporary and you're like, for the next 2 years, I'm going to buckle down. This is the lifestyle I'm committing to because I really want to get this debt paid off. And then I want to start doing other things. Or whether it's something that you plan to like stick with for the long term. Once you kind of get in that mindset, it is easier to voice your goals, your plans, your limitations, and chat with your friends about it. It becomes easier to manage and make it part of the regular day to day. It's a whole different thing. And I really think like paying off debt, I think that this is kind of a cliche that we hear, but it really is freeing, right? It's freeing literally up money, like Meri-Li was saying, back into your monthly budget because you're not putting it towards credit card debt. You now have that monthly payment back into your budget. It's freeing emotionally because you can relax and breathe. It's less stress when you're thinking about like whether you want to save for a vacation or a car or whatever it is that you want to do, painting your house, all of those things, like it becomes something that is more realistic and less something that seems impossible.
Yeah, you're making yourself wealthy, not the bank or financial institution.
Yes. I love it. Yes. On that note, we're going to link up a couple things in the description below. The Female Finance Collective community has a 6-week debt power circle going on right now, debt payoff power circle. And we'd love to have you join us for a little extra accountability. And we also have an amazing snowball debt calculator. We've talked about the snowball debt and avalanche debt systems before. If you want to search that in our podcast, you'll find some more information about that. And we're so glad that you're here. Go start paying off that debt. We're proud of you. Your action for the week is to start looking at those numbers, thinking about how you can relieve some emotional stress and start shifting your lifestyle. Please remember to like and subscribe to our podcast, and we'll see you next week.